This week, we discuss breakfast, bad pizza, giant food, the dadaist movement, and what's been up with that guy who created McAfee antivirus. Also, we learn about how the US shamed the former Soviet Union into creating a fast food commercial. So, gather around the internet campfire, everyone, because it's episode 2 of Let's Regroup. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Let's Regroup, where we get off topic, but we'll get there eventually. I'm your host, Casey, and today I have some returning guests and some new guests. We have here Dave.
I hope you're tired of me.
We also have... It really took a second there for that to register. We also have Rolls.
Hey, sweet and sour chicken's really good.
We have Sam.
Howdy.
And we have
tagline.
And we have Noah.
Hi there.
All right, so we have an all-star cast here, which I'm very excited about. Last week I felt like it was a little bit of a struggle to get started, but now we're going to hit our stride. Episode 2 is where we all hit our stride. That's how it's going to be. At least I think so.
Isn't it past the first season of any show where things start to fall into place? So is this our second season?
Well, it depends on if you're referring to, like, the second season of, like, what's a good show with a good second season? Like, How I Met Your Mother, I guess?
You're talking over my head. I have not
The
watched
Office
it.
got a lot better in its second season.
Okay.
Parks and Rec did too, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the first season was good, but second season introduced like the main cast that pretty much stuck with it for the rest of the series. So
Tag yourself on Maple Ludgate.
oh gosh,
Wow. I'm Ron Swanson.
I would say I'd want to be Ron Swanson, but I'm probably more like Ben.
I'm Jerry.
I am also absolutely Jerry. Like, without any question.
Actually, I'm probably more of a Leslie because especially right now in these times of like time has no meaning.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep schedules and like really detailed lists to follow so I don't lose track of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. It's so easy. When you're like, time's an illusion now, and it doesn't matter, you suddenly end up on like a 36-hour binge of just like watching documentaries on like a 25-year-old like SNES game that came out only in like Argentina.
I thought you were going to say Tiger King. That's like the staple documentary for quarantine, I think.
Yeah, although I hear it's shifting now to the Jeffrey Epstein documentary.
Oh boy.
Which is depressing for very different reasons than Tiger King is depressing.
Just gonna run the gambit of depression as we're all sitting here.
I want to keep my mental state in check, so I've been avoiding it. I'm going to until I'm ready.
That's smart. It's, yeah. No, I get you.
Actually, kind of on the topic, I want to update you guys on something I mentioned last week that just like imploded this week. So I mentioned that I work from home, and that's been really my way of structuring my day, since I work 9 hours a day. However, circumstances have arisen in which I can no longer work my job for the foreseeable future. I'm not allowed to talk about why, because I was told by the literal CEO of my company not to talk about why. But to suffice it to say that the job that I've been doing, which is a very menial archiving job, is now literally impossible for me to do even at home. So I have to wait until that issue is resolved. So now I'm going insane.
Yep.
This has been the longest week of my entire life.
That's the same for me because I'm a teacher, and my school year ended pretty late compared to a lot of others. I ended on Tuesday, was my first full day.
Oh, wow.
And this entire week I've just been like floating in this limbo of just like, the sun's up, so I guess I should be up too. And it is messing with me, and so I'm starting to pull the Leslie nope that Sam is pulling, and I am just like, I have to do these things today, and I'm doing them at this time, and then
Here's my Monday binder and my Tuesday binder.
pretty much.
Have you been eating a lot of breakfast food? Is my question.
Yes.
Good.
Pancakes.
Real talk. I think breakfast food might be top tier.
Oh yeah,
It's
yes.
so good.
Yesterday I made a breakfast casserole that was like 1 part hash browns, 1 part eggs, and
hash
1
browns.
part meats, and it was just glorious.
Beautiful. I made a frittata today, onion and green
Ooh.
pepper frittata, and that was the first time I've ever made the recipe, and it was so good.
I made instant oatmeal, which is still technically breakfast.
I mean, you gotta have breakfast no matter what.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, the frittata is like not an everyday occurrence. The
Okay.
usual occurrence is usually what Sam had, but the frittata,
There
it's
you go.
Saturday, trying new recipes, so
I was like, oh, Mr. Highbrow over there.
I think
yeah, no, it's not often. It's a facade.
It's a facade.
I usually eat, and this speaks volumes about the type of person I am. Most days for breakfast, I eat a raw bagel. Don't even toast it, just a plain raw bagel. Because
I know exactly what stage of life that is because I was there too once.
I used to. I shouldn't say I used to because that makes me upset. But I work in an urban environment with children, and I often say that I am the whitest man alive. And they think that's incredibly funny. And it's very true, because not only do I eat plain bagels for breakfast, but I'm also pretty sure that I would sunburn in fluorescent light.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even cream cheese, my guy?
I don't like cream cheese.
He...
You know, sometimes if I'm feeling real crazy, I'll put, like, honey or Nutella
shit.
on it.
That sounds like an interesting breakfast. Absolutely.
I almost want to try it just so I could like
Do I even have
further empathize with you, but I don't know if I should.
I feel like you could try more interesting foods. No offense to Casey, but more interesting foods than a raw bagel.
I mean, if you don't
Yeah.
want more interesting foods, I get it. Because sometimes you're like, I don't really want to be adventurous. I just want, give me the carbohydrate and nobody gets hurt.
I mean, I don't want it to seem like I'm feeling like I have to go in defense mode. That being said,
Explain yourself.
that being
Casey.
said, I actually do really love cooking, but I hate cooking for just myself. So like if
Oh, I get that. Yeah, I get that.
if it were feasible, and I really felt up to it, I probably would have more complex breakfasts. However, I feel like just having one bagel, non-toasted. I mean, sometimes it's toasted, but non-toasted, I'm just like, I'm good. That's all I need.
I mean, you know, to each their own. That's fair. So most of the times I don't even eat breakfast these days. Like I wake up in the afternoon. So good on you for having breakfast.
So what's the reasoning behind the non-toasting?
I'm lazy.
Is it just like so it's just a convenience thing?
Yeah, it's literally
You know,
just a convenience
sometimes-
thing.
2-word answer. That's all you need.
Sometimes
Please
I
elaborate.
feel
No.
Rolls, do you engage on any particular breakfast habits of any kind, or is this too boring of an episode 2 discussion to have?
No, I'm just listening to everybody, dude. Today I didn't really get up till noon, so this Grubhub order from the local Chinese restaurant was the food of the day so far. But on my normal work days or days I'm going to both jobs, quick update. I'm now, so that I can keep my security job, I've become like an on-call kind of worker,
Fantastic.
which is just like, hey, if we need you, we will text you. Because Alan, who I was just at his house yesterday for dinner, he invited me over. My site supervisor. Interesting to your dilemma of what happened with your job.
Yeah.
Ours is kind of the opposite, where a lot of people that were hired before Corona like are able to come back, that had to stay home with their kids and whatnot.
Yeah.
So now it's like, what are we gonna do with all these staff? And it's like, Rolls, I don't want to get rid of you, but I'm going to probably fire all the part-time people, so I'm making you an on-call employee. And I said, right on, just tell me when you need me. I still enjoy making extra money. But when I would go to that job, I would usually stop at Burger King in the morning and get like some sort of bacon or sausage croissant with hash browns and maybe something else from the dollar menu. But as far as cooking things, I really don't make my own breakfast at all. The lunches that I make to pack to work every week are usually comprised of chicken of some kind, whether it be strips or tenders or grilled.
That's fair.
A side like mac and cheese, something along those lines, like a flavorful side, and then like something else. Usually I make like stuffing or like some other like filling part, and it's like, all right, I'm splitting this up over 5 days, so get my little plastic cases and portion out everything, and
Yep.
I almost feel like I'm like a really lazy bodybuilder. It doesn't.
No, I get exactly what you're saying.
I used to work with guys that like they had all their meals planned out. Like I plan them out, but like they're not at all designed to lose weight or do anything but keep me full throughout the day when I need energy.
I mean, that's perfectly valid, though. That's
Yes.
like if I lived entirely on my own alone, that's probably the sort of thing that I would do.
Mm.
But no, it is absolutely hard to cook for two, like even more. Well, for yourself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like most dishes are usually based around like a couple people, if not an entire family. So, and there's the situation where you have a bunch of leftovers, and you kind of forget about them, and then they just sort of sit
Yeah.
Oh my
in the
God.
back of your fridge.
You guys,
Yes.
That's why I try to portion things out like that.
I hate leftovers so much because
It's a double-edged sword.
in my household
It
they
is.
never get eaten.
Mm.
What kind of leftovers do you have?
Well, I mean, it's almost exclusively actually the dinners that I cook, which I throw all of my creative and like just energy in general into making dinner from day to day. And oftentimes, since I have to cook for 5 people, it's difficult to try and gauge who wants what and how much. So oftentimes there will be food in the refrigerator for days to weeks, and then we realize, oh, hey, this thing that you made like 2 Sundays ago is still here.
Yup. Yup.
And then it like gives you side eyes as you open it up. It looks like a face or something like that.
Oh no, I absolutely feel like my leftovers judge me, because
Yeah.
I'll open up like the Tupperware can of like ribs that I made in the slow cooker, and they'll just be like, why did you leave me in here? We were delicious.
Why?
It's like
Why
opening
would-
up
yeah.
King Tut's tomb.
Why would people not eat the rib? Oh man, that bums me out. Really.
These are the mysteries of the
Same.
universe that even I cannot answer.
Like you make something really good, and then no one wants to be like, oh, I'm not even gonna give this any more time, even though it was delicious. Before I went to bed, it'll probably still be delicious today.
Exactly.
The woes of a home chef.
Yeah, well.
So
What?
I sent something into the chat that I'm sure you all saw.
Is it the
When
pizza?
So pizza.
Yes.
Yeah,
Pizza.
that
Now, here we
terrible
Pizza
go.
culture is really, really weird when you think about it.
Pizza culture.
I'm
Pizza
looking at
culture.
it again, and
Incredibly
Yes.
American.
So my girlfriend and I ended up getting pizza today. We ordered a pizza from a place down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had this conversation before. Is there such thing as bad pizza?
Absolutely, yes.
There is, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, most definitely.
and from there, I just started thinking about like the whole pineapple on pizza thing, and the debate between Chicago deep dish style actually being pizza or not being pizza.
Oh man, that makes me wish that my sister was here to talk about it, because she lives in Springfield, which is not too far from Chicago, and she hates Chicago style pizza.
So I just kind of wanted to talk about pizza and
I'm all
the
for
varied opinions. So
Well,
So what is I don't know what the difference between deep dish and what was the other one?
well, just like regular New York style pizza, like
New
like
York is very thin crust,
right.
usually, whereas deep dish is like it's almost it lives up to the name of a pizza
just
pie.
a thicker,
It's like
bread.
almost a
it has
pie.
lasagna
Not
tendencies.
necessarily. Yeah, it's like it's a slightly thicker bread, but it's like the entire depth of the pizza itself is just thicker. So you know how like if you buy a typical New York style, which is like most
Yeah.
like local pizzerias, at least where I am and where you used to live, Sam,
Yeah.
and where Casey is, you know how it's just like half an inch or so.
Yeah.
Deep dish is like an inch plus. It is like just
Okay.
an
I don't know if I've
ocean
ever
of
had
sauce. It's a
deep
lot.
dish pizza then, so I don't know if I can comment.
It's
on
Think
that.
of-
really localized to like Chicago
To-
unless you like specifically order it or someone specifically offers it.
Mhm.
I actually just came up with a good analogy. New York
Okay.
style is like eating pizza off of a cracker. Chicago style is like eating pizza off
An
of
entire loaf of bread
a loaf of bread.
under an ocean
And it just
of
a
sauce
straight up loaf of bread.
and like a layer of cheese at the bottom. It's kind of
yeah.
inverted in that way,
Yeah.
where you're looking at crust, then cheese, and then just a fuck ton of red sauce on top.
Okay.
It's
I don't think
it's
I've
like
ever
Noah
had
said. It's
deep dish.
it's literally just like a pizza but in pie form. Like someone wanted to make a pizza, but they didn't have like
Hmm.
the rolling pin to smooth it out.
Yeah. And then they just pour an ocean of sauce into the pan. It's
You know,
just
I was on board with it because I love carbs. But then you mentioned that the cheese goes on first and the sauce goes on top, and that just feels weird to me.
See, that's the thing that seems sacrilegious to me about it.
Like,
It just
shouldn't you
it seems
be tucking-
counterintuitive.
Shouldn't you be tucking the sauce in under a nice blanket of cheese? Like, why are you flopping it on top of the cheese?
tell that to Chicago.
I don't want to talk to Chicago,
Okay.
frankly.
I had to look this up. I had to look this up because I faintly remember hearing about this at one point. But have you guys ever heard of St. Louis style pizza?
Absolutely not.
Heard of
I
it, never had it.
Haven't. No.
St. Louis style pizza is involves a thinner crust still than New York style, like to the point where it almost actually is a cracker because they don't use yeast.
Huh.
The sauce is pretty much the same, but instead of mozzarella cheese or some sort of specialized pizza cheese, they use Cheese Whiz.
Oh no.
Oh.
Hmm.
I
That-
don't think I've ever had Cheese Whiz, but the look and the name of it super turns
It
me
tastes
off from
like it looks, if that makes any
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Yep, that's about what I was expecting it to.
Super greasy, super processed, super concentrated.
Yeah.
That's like if I looked up American cuisine in like a world book, if they still existed. I guess they technically do, but why bother?
They do.
Like if I looked up American cuisine on Wikipedia or a world book, I feel like you would just be redirected to the St. Louis pizza because that just like it sums up what bastardized culinary feats we have achieved in this mishmash country.
I always
Oh, yeah,
thought
it's-
like the signature American food, like if you're gonna judge it based on, it would be something like the Baconator burger or something. Just
Yeah, those go into it too. It's just like cheese.
just like large. Yeah. Well, I think we're following the same idea, just like large and ungaudy and unnecessary, but we're gonna use it anyway.
Just super
Absolutely.
indulgent, super gluttonous, and just like this exists not because it should, but because we could.
Pretty much.
I have the power to
Like-
make this, and I've
You're
exercised that
responsible
power
gods.
against God's wish.
We're absolutely like that. I don't know if this came about somewhere else, but I definitely know there's a local chain around here where I live that made very public, like, hey, we have a burger except the buns are donuts. Huh?
Oh,
Yeah, I
my
remember that.
I've seen it at a couple restaurants before,
it's the
and
same
part of me
thing.
wants to try it,
No,
but then
not me.
I think about it. I'm like, wait, I could just not. I could just go home and not feel bad about
If
myself.
you want sweet and savory, then have a barbecue burger. Don't just take a donut, 2 donuts, and then
So
like, is it 2 donuts or is it a donut cut in half?
That's an important question.
No, it's 2
I think,
donuts.
yeah, I think it's 2
No,
full
okay.
donuts. I think I
I
know the
feel
ad
like
you're talking about.
I feel like a donut cut in half would be more like I would be a little more on board. I would not be like I would be standing on the very first step of the gangplank onto the ship, whereas if it's 2 donuts, I'm just on the pier looking at it saying no.
okay,
So-
but what flavor is the donut?
Also, glazed or unglazed?
It is glazed.
Okay, that's what I assumed.
Yep.
Okay, I don't want to
I'll
admit
throw
this, but my curiosity has been.
No, I don't blame you. I said I'm almost on board.
I've got like 1 foot on the ship.
I'd just rather have the savory
this-
or the sweet come
I'd
from the
give it a
barbecue
whirl.
sauce.
Yeah. I cannot negotiate around donuts as buns for anything. Because I know, like, KFC did that for a while.
I was about to say, there's a
and I
few
was
other
just-
examples, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just...
So,
There was one, I'm not sure, some reason Denny's comes to mind. Which, like,
it's
you know-
because Denny's has spat in God's face multiple times.
Yeah. But, where they had, like, a burger that was made, like, the buns were grilled cheese sandwiches.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh, I remember that.
Yeah, I always saw it on the menu, and I was like, no, I'll just have a Grand Slam. I'm good.
bold move to use a sandwich as an individual bun.
For another sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
That's like a
Um,
Scooby-Doo sandwich.
Oh, absolutely.
so like there's that artistic movement, minimalism. I feel as though I guess in the culinary, and when I say culinary, I'm talking about like fast food and like chain brands. I'm not talking about like actual high level culinary artists and chefs.
Culinary with like 5 quotes around them.
Exactly. We're
Yeah.
talking about like the Guy Fieri culinary here. Even then, we're
Yes,
taking like a few
just-
steps below that. But
Spread that donkey sauce
Yeah.
everywhere.
it just, I
Do
feel
not
like
attack
Denny's
Flavor Town.
is a part of this larger like maximalism where they're like, how much shit can we just fit into
Oh, absolutely.
it?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like,
It's
what
true.
can we do that will keep our fans loyal even though they show me the faces of disgust that they ought to have, because society has at least
That-
taught them one good thing, and that is eating 3 sandwiches and counting it as one sandwich is not healthy.
So
Yeah.
I think that cannot be more exemplified than in the fact that many, if not a majority, of local chains and like indie restaurants in all over across America have at least one challenge item on their
Yeah.
menu. So
I think I know
near
which
where
one.
near where I live, I've talked about this multiple times, but this is
Oh.
the first time on the podcast
Is it
that I'm
time?
talking about it. It's in Gettysburg.
There
There
it
is a restaurant called the Blue and Gray Bar and Grill that
Yep.
has
Oh, I
a
like that place.
challenge called the Pickett's Charge Challenge. It's $25, which is surprisingly cheap for how much you get for this.
For
Yeah,
a
I mean, it's
challenge, it
Gettysburg,
seems
so-
pretty cheap.
It is a triple layered sandwich, and it's like a club sandwich, except the buns and the bun in the middle are all grilled cheese sandwiches, and it comes with burger with all of your typical stuff you
Accoutrement.
put on it.
Fixins.
Yes. So like lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion, stuff like that. In addition, it also has, as a side, 4 pounds of chili cheese fries. And they give you a half hour to eat that entire thing. To this day, No one has completed it.
Yeah, I wonder why. Because if you did complete it, you probably wouldn't poop for a
That's
year.
not enough time.
No, it's very not
It's
much,
too-
not enough time.
There's too much going on.
Am I imagining
My
that?
question is-
Casey, did you attempt it at one point?
I didn't, but I did sponsor somebody who did. It's a
love that.
mutual friend of ours who was like, "Yeah, I'll do this as long as somebody pays for it." And I was like,
Oh
"I
my
would
God.
love to see you try to do
Right,
this."
that's right. I remember now. Okay.
What?
So story time, guys.
That sounds like a win-win situation. I just want to say, because you don't have to eat it, and that person got free food. So, like,
Yeah, exactly. So, well, there's a small twist to this story. So, so backing up a little bit. This was, I'm going to say, like 6 years ago? 5 years ago? Something like that. It was 5 years ago. Where we all were, much like what we're doing now, gathering around the old podcasting campfire, we're talking about this Pickett's Charge Challenge. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna attempt that. Somebody buy this for me. I will do it. And we're like, okay. We'll find a day. We're gonna make this happen. So the day arrives. We go to Blue and Gray. We walk in there. He says that he wants the Pickett's Charge Challenge. He gets several people to take pictures of him because they're so interested in this thing that's going on. When they bring out the final burger and the chili cheese fries, he just goes, "Oh." Because he was expecting, it's gonna be cheese fries. That's fine, but no, chili cheese fries. That's a deal breaker. Can't do that. And so he just like pouted most of the time and like picked at it, and didn't really eat it at all.
now that's disappointing.
That's sad.
Oh yeah, it was. I did get most of the sandwich, and it took me like 3 days to consume it all.
Oh my God.
Terrifying.
Including the cheese fries. I took those too because I actually do like those. But yeah, it was so incredibly disappointing.
Now,
I
my
mean,
question.
I feel like if you're gonna get into that, you gotta commit to it. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
commit to the bet.
commit to
If
it.
I wonder if you ask like this restaurant or any other ones that have these challenges, like if you don't want something on your burger, like I don't want tomato on my burgers, right? Like
Mhm.
would that
that a deal breaker?
disqualify me from
He
not
actually
a
asked.
huge deal breaker, but I was
he
gonna
actually
say
asked. I
Go ahead.
filmed most of this. I may or may not put it in the links. I don't know yet, but I filmed most of this, and there's a clip of him asking the waiter, like, "Can I just like not have onions on it or something weird like that?" And the guy's like, "No." Like just flat out,
Yeah.
no,
It
no,
is
you
an
can't.
integral part of the experience. You're going to eat it. You're going to like
You're
it.
gonna eat every last bite of this.
it's those slivers of tomato that are really put me over the edge, not able to finish it.
Oh yeah.
They know what they're
No, he
doing.
was-
Man,
He was like picking at the cheese fries with a fork and just like, this sucks. Just like so upset about it. I'm like, come on. Been talking about this for weeks.
Like, just attempt it, man.
And then
very
if
most,
you
I would've been
fail,
like, all right,
you
you
know.
can pay for it then.
yeah, and if you fail, just be like, well, this was bound to happen anyways, but at least it was a really great experience that I'll get to talk about for the rest of my life.
Yeah, there you go.
How I got
It's not-
$25 worth of free food, and while I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as I would enjoy like other selections, it was free, and a lot of people took pictures of me.
Yeah. There you go.
So a celebrity in Gettysburg, PA, but still,
The
My
highest
brief-
caliber.
My brief
So-
15 minutes in the sun.
So what do you consider to go to the pizza thing we started off with
Oh
to
yeah.
be like a bad pizza? Doesn't necessarily have to be like
Well-
the difference between home and like made in a
Have-
chain store or
You
homemade.
guys are
but like,
familiar with
what is a bad
Totino's
pizza?
pizza rolls, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Totino's actually does make pizza,
Oh, I didn't know that.
like actual pizza. It is the worst pizza I've ever had in my entire life. It is absolutely terrible. To go back to
Wow.
what Casey was saying, the crust is almost cracker-like.
Wow.
Like-
see,
Like
I
a
don't like that.
saltine
I like
cracker.
thicker crust.
Horrid.
Like it's just it's like they put it on top of like like a discount bargain brand saltine. It's really bad.
Just imagining a pizza that like the crust is made out of communion wafers.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, that's how thin it is.
That's the consistency of it too.
This is my blood. This is my body. This is my damaged pancreas.
So I've noticed that too with more obscure like brands you'll get in the grocery store. They tend to have the thinner crust, which I can't stand at the bottom.
Yeah.
Was cheaper.
Yeah. So I gotta get ones that are like self-rising if I do that. In my experience, if you're ordering out pizza, I think the best place is usually the local places.
Yes, I agree.
You almost can't go wrong with local pizza, you know?
Yeah. And I think the worst would be like, I've got it before, but like Little Caesars, like it's good for like it's good for that day, but like as soon as that day passes, it's no go.
And that's true because I enjoy it as I eat it, and then the next day I'm just like, oh, I'm dying.
Cold pizza is integral to the experience.
Yes, if it's good cold, it should be good.
What were you saying, Sam?
I was just gonna say, do you think there's any places, totally forgetting about like Little Caesars and CC's, which I think does not keep well personally after the day you get it, but like any other like places that you like order hot pizza fresh from that are not good pizza servers?
I'm honestly trying to rack my brains as to
Papa John's was never really good for me.
Yeah.
No, and it's so expensive. Like, I enjoy Papa John's, but it's like it's a step above Little Caesars, where it's like I enjoy it and I don't feel like death the next day. But like,
plus there was that whole,
well, not bringing in the owner and not involved.
Father John.
Hey, there was
Father John.
Please,
there was
accept
a thing.
My hot za.
There was a thing like that happened here with a place kind of down heading towards Carlisle that's called the Red Rooster Pizzeria.
Okay.
They serve all sorts of Italian stuff. The owner was caught. I don't know how he was caught or what prompted it, but like with illegal pornography, I'll say. I don't want to say what it actually is.
Okay.
On his hard drive. So now you drive by the building, but they were quick to put out on the front under new management. So it's like I feel like they hit that right on the head.
I was gonna make a joke about him sticking his dick in the pizza, but now I just feel bad.
No.
Ooh. It's not the same experience.
I can't enjoy it anymore. Like,
no.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't feel comfortable ordering from that business. Like I haven't since.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get that.
Same with Papa John's, actually. Not that I was ordering it regularly anyway, but it's like, oh wow. Okay,
like I've never really ordered from Papa John's.
It's just
I definitely won't.
It's a double whammy because it's expensive and it's just not the quality that the price proclaims. Like,
yeah,
it's like okay, if I get a really cheap, like Little Caesars is a lot cheaper, and so that makes sense to me. Like, you get what you pay for. But like Papa John's is like you can have this small pizza that will maybe tingle your taste buds a tiny bit and then just be absolutely unsalvageable once reheated for like $35. And it's like the circumference of a quarter. And you're just like, thank you, Father.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father, for your hot za. Blessed be.
See,
praise be to him.
In terms of chain pizza, I do enjoy Domino's, and I mildly enjoy Pizza Hut. They're super greasy, but like I'm okay with that. Like I feel like that it's just like it wouldn't be Pizza Hut or Domino's if it wasn't just like a river of grease just cascading off of the slice.
I feel like Domino's is the one who's had the like biggest like glow up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is interesting because they actually used to be my least favorite of the big 3 pizza chains.
That's what a lot of folks said. And like in the recent decade, they've like really pulled themselves together.
Well, they did those commercials themselves, and they were like, someone sent us a picture of their ordered Domino's pizza, and it was all beat up and disgusting. Like they made fun of themselves in the commercials for
Oh,
a little while there. They're my favorite place now to order from, my favorite chain. So
Yeah, they had this,
all their
like,
other stuff is so good too, like the sandwiches and everything. It's always like, oh, this is really good.
their lava cakes are disgustingly delicious. It's just so much sugar, and it's
I've
so
never
bad
had
for
a
you.
bad lava cake.
Exactly.
Like they come in a box probably.
Yes.
And they probably have to thaw them and then make them, and yet they're incredible.
And yet,
it's like scientifically proven that a lava cake, it's going to be a knockout of the park no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if it's bad, it's still just a mountain of chocolate in your mouth.
I have to say, I think that a lot of the reason why Domino's increased their appeal, like, yes, they definitely improved on all of their recipes for their menu items and everything, but also a lot of the business decisions they made were a little kooky pants. Like, the whole thing about, like, oh, you can own stock in Domino's just by buying a lot of Domino's. Or, like, if you
buy Domino's,
you take a picture,
we'll pave over these roads, I guess, because your government sure as hell won't do it.
I forgot about that. Yeah, like if the route from our store to your house is shitty, we will personally pave over your. Like, I just want to, like, say, oh yeah, I live off the highway. Can you please do the job that PennDOT is not doing?
I want you to shut down the highway for 3 weeks.
Hey, if we shut down the drive-through King Street in town and had Domino's pave it, they might do it right. These guys are taking forever to get it done.
Like,
but the Domino's delivery boys just doing it back and forth. It'll be great.
This is just like the corporationalist hellscape that we live in, where the government does such a poor job maintaining its roads, in Pennsylvania at least, that, like, there are corporations that step in and are like, listen, it affects us too, so we'll make it benefit both of us, because the government can't do that right now. You just have to buy the za, and we'll just fling that hot tar onto that road and we'll make it better.
It's the wonderful world of my functioning libertarianism.
Oh my god!
You buy enough pizza,
Did
we'll
you just say
road.
my functioning libertarianism? That's my god! That's so good.
I really want to call that the title of this episode, and I really do.
Listen, I'm being serious though. I do. In the same vein as Ron Swanson, I think about these kind of things. And I've always had like libertarian thoughts, but at the same time, like I know it's unreasonable to ask.
Disparity. Like there are folks who are like,
I would describe myself as a classic libertarianism, but a libertarian. But at the same time, like I know it's just not feasible in so many ways.
Well, I mean, seeing as like the folks who represent the party.
Yeah.
You're just like, there's definitely many different libertarians. I mean, Joe Exotic ran on a libertarian ticket and he didn't even know what the hell it was, so.
But like,
that's on Joe Exotic's platform.
He did. He just kind of hitched on to the hedgehog that was the Libertarian Party. We'll pave your roads for you. I don't know. It also helps Domino's that like they were doing all these like small like glow ups that they had plotted out very carefully, and then John, insert Italian name here, I forget his last name,
Papa.
but
doesn't matter.
John Papa, whatever.
John Papa.
Like, he just decided to shit the bed. And like at the right moment, and then Domino's was like, "Oh yes, we'll take that success, and we're going to just buy it for ourselves." One misstep.
He was almost a celebrity, because like the NFL was like, "Yeah, we love your stuff so much that we're just going to take all of our football players
on every
like
single commercial."
Yeah, and like he was doing great, and then just the one small slip up.
Well, yeah,
and now it's all gone.
He complained in a conference call that he couldn't say a certain word. He was like, "They get to say it. Why can't I say it?" Like,
meanwhile, the other people in the boardroom are like kicking him under the table, like, "John, shut the fuck up!
Shut the phone!" Well,
Fame does weird things to people.
And then Pizza Hut never really like. They were always like the middle.
just been there.
I was gonna say they're the middle of the road. They don't really advertise anything new. They had like
Have
the
you-
5 for 5 deal going
They
on
mind
for a
their
while,
damn
but then
business, and then that's about what they do.
Yeah.
yeah,
And, you know, I
Have
kind
you
of respect
seen-
that.
old reliable Pizza Hut.
Yeah. Have you seen
Reliable.
the advertisement from like the 80s where they got the Soviet Union leader Mikhail Gorbachev to be in a Pizza Hut commercial?
I'm
No.
sorry.
What?
Oh my god!
Oh, I have to find this
No,
I
now.
was
Bring it
gonna
up
say
right
we
now.
gotta share that.
I will
We
post
have
it.
to share
Yeah,
this.
I gotta find it. It's the Gorbachev pizza. It's the first link.
Oh, my
Yes.
Not even the tear down this wall speech.
God. Welcome to
Ronald
Pizza Hut,
Reagan's been
where your
usurped.
pizza
Priorities.
is our pizza.
It.
I was gonna
Oh,
say
no,
this
no,
is
no,
a
no.
weird 1984 Pizza Hut thing right now.
No, it's in 90s, so it was after the fall of the Soviet Union. So Gorbachev was
okay.
still like there, but he wasn't figurehead.
Oh
But
my
like
God.
still,
I mean,
this
he's
is
mentioned.
like peak like echoes of the Cold War. I'm posting it right now. It is. I don't even know how to preface it. Just I enjoy.
I'm really scared.
I wish I could watch it right now, but
I know, but like,
I'll put it in the links.
watch it later. It is the most surreal thing I've experienced in a long time.
It really says something about American culture when we have this incredible speech that's a very dramatic moment in American and European history, overshadowed
By a
goddamn
by a
pizza.
commercial.
I just love that, like, this is like the new wave of imperialism, where in the olden days, the country that was, the Soviet Union collapsed first, so okay, we won, we're gonna take that land, blah, 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 we win that. Now it's a culture victory where we're like, you have lost the Cold War, so we're gonna take your former president and we're going to make him be the figurehead of this ad based in Russia for an American brand.
I just
like-
watched it, and I can't believe this is not an SNL skit.
I know, right?
Oh my god.
Hi, we're your friends at Pizza Hut. You've been with us throughout the entirety of the Cold War. You've ate our
Oh,
pies in
my
the
God.
basements and your
Dungeons
storm
and
shelters
Dragons,
throughout
and you're
the
fearing
80s.
nuclear
And
dystopia.
now we want you to know that. Not only did we beat the Ruskies, we have their leader doing an advertisement for us. Eat Pizza
It's-
Hut, everyone.
What a power play!
Like,
Pizza Hut stock goes up by 200
Literal
points.
lines in that video were, because of him we have economic confusion, and then because of him we have Pizza Hut.
That's
Hello?
It's a literal quote of it. It's literally this one guy sitting in a Russian Pizza Hut outside of like Moscow or St. Petersburg or I don't know, some random Russian village, and he's complaining about how like Gorbachev is this weakling and like he led the USSR down the path of absolute like just being absolved.
Oh my god.
And this is like, but pizza, and he's like, you know what? That's great. I'll eat this slice with Gorbachev, and it's
Yeah.
just like,
peace.
Amazing.
Wow.
it is peak America.
When did we divulge into this alternate universe? Like, I was not aware that we somehow
Casey.
separated from the regular
Casey.
timeline.
Do you look outside?
I can't-
Darkest timeline.
I don't know if
Like-
we're necessarily in the darkest, but we're definitely in like the most fucked up.
Maybe not the Vanta Black of timelines, but we're definitely
The
like
Vanta Black.
like the Midnight Blue.
We're
perhaps.
not, we're not in the hero falls timeline where Link dies at the end of Ocarina of Time, but we're definitely not in the child timeline either.
It's like the timeline where like, yeah, Link saved us, but then like in his later years, he become like a black pillar on the subreddit for like being black pilled, and you're just
Oh,
like,
no.
oh god, now we have to cancel Link, even
Oh,
though he
no.
did save the world.
Oh, we have to cancel
Mm.
Link. The words I don't want to hear.
Exactly, like that's the universe we're living in.
Oh.
Oh no.
It's kind of like the Legacy of Kain story, where It's like, all you need to do to save the world, Kane, is to kill yourself. But he's like, no, I'm going to become a vampire instead and pollute the world.
As someone who knows nothing about Legacy of Kain, wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's just the first game.
Oh,
There's
Oh
more.
boy.
Yes. There's, the spirit of this vampire slayer was trapped inside a sword the whole time. There's a lot. I gotta draw it out for you sometime. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. I'm learning so many things today.
I could have gone my whole life without knowing this ad existed. So
well, you're
thank
welcome.
you for that.
You're welcome.
And now you have to live with that. Thanks, Noah.
Yeah, of course. Now you get to know just to the extent that America would like to say that they've won in foreign territory.
Okay,
Clear
so
marker of victory than Pizza Hut.
I would
McDonald's, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm surprised McDonald's didn't.
that's
jump
the
on
only
that.
that's literally the only company I could name that's more
yeah, that's fair.
USA representative.
well, you can't really do that with McDonald's because their logo is the same color as a certain flag.
Now I'm just like seeing the ad where it's just like the guy who's arguing, instead of having pizza, he has like, he's holding a Big Mac and he's just like, I can't believe Gorbachev did this. And then Gorbachev just comes in, holds up the Soviet flag and then rips it in half. And behind it is the same flag, but with the McDonald's arches instead of the sickle and hammer.
The USSR national anthem starts playing like really loudly.
So just vocoded over the entire
Oh.
thing. Someone's had to have vocoded the USSR over that ad.
Oh, for sure.
You guys may not be aware of the current teenage demographic right now, but
I'm
they
relatively
think
woke.
they think that the peak of comedy is the Soviet Union. There's nothing funnier to them than the Soviet
Well, I feel
Union.
like it's been not decades, but just like an entire generation is just so scared of them that like if anyone makes any move to like give the government more power, it's just like, oh Christ, the commies are here.
Not again, not again, not
It's
again.
just like there's such a culture of fear inundated with them that
It's
like
true.
shown to us now, especially teenagers, like I've never experienced the Cold War because I was born a couple of years after it ended. But like these folks where that is like kind of distant history to them because it's been 20, 30 years now, that it's just funny that they had that much fear over a country that in the end just collapsed in on itself. And as we look at the data that we know now, we did not know during the war, like they were never super stable to begin with. And so they just look at it and it's just really funny to make fun of it.
That's actually exactly the reason that what you just said right there is exactly the reason why memes of today are so just bizarre and nonsensical,
We
because
fully doubled down on absurdism.
this has been proven twice already, and this is the third iteration. In times of severe economic strife and also like wartime hellscapes, many artists will just resort to Dadaism, where they'll just be like, you know what? Life is meaningless. Let's just make meaningless art.
Yeah, ever since World War I, the default is, oh, big war, Dada.
You know, I would say it's not even meaningless, but more just absurdism. Like,
Exactly. Surrealism,
I feel like
absurdism.
it has a meaning, but the meaning is really obscure and hard to
Or the meaning is just
hard
like
to
life is
procure from artwork sometimes.
like life is what you make it is what I get from a lot of Dadaism. And just like so the very obvious example I learned when I took the philosophy of art, which I wish I could erase from my mind, but here we are, was Marcel Duchamp's The Fountain, which he went to a dump.
Oh yeah.
He took a urinal and then he signed his name on the side of it and then put it like the wrong way on a plinth, and it's art because he put his name on it.
Was like, oh my
Yeah.
god!
But the whole point was that he was like showing how absurd the art scene had become in the 1920s.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, World War I just ended. The Age of Empires is over. Like, most empires have fallen except for the British Empire, and they're just like, well, what are we gonna do? We don't want all this frilly art that we've had. We're just gonna burn that, and we're just going to I'm gonna take this urinal cake, and I'm just going to put a toothpick in it, and it's art now.
That's the best kind of
he
art.
he also was known for having a stool, like one of those bar stools that was just made entirely out of wood, and he screwed a bicycle wheel onto it and was like, hey, guess what? It's fucking art.
Yeah, but he didn't do that because he thought it was serious art. He was doing it as a direct mockery of the art scene.
Oh yeah.
But then many people were like,
yeah,
Can
exactly.
I tell you?
They took it seriously, and then it was ruined.
Oh,
I have to tell you guys the story of because I love this story. The one time I went to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, they had the Dadaist exhibit. The time that I went there, and my God, I didn't understand it at the time because I think I was 15. So I was barely starting to understand different art movements, especially one as complicated as this one. So, for those of you who have never been, it's the museum has a top floor where they have all of their exhibits, and then they have a bottom, a basement floor where they have all of their traveling exhibits.
Yeah.
So every time there's a new exhibit, they had a surrealism one a while ago, but this Dadaist one, the first thing you see when you walk down, when this exhibit was there, was a piano playing itself, but it was playing random chords. And that was a little weird. And then we walked into it was separated into two rooms. The first room was nothing but garbage. And when I say garbage, I mean metal and paper and just various pieces of detritus all littered all over the place. And the fountain was there off to the side in nowhere in particular. You had to actually actively search for it to see it. And now that I know that was probably very apropos, but seeing it, I was like, oh, that's the fountain. Why is it shoved in a closet?
Yeah, I think
that's quite literally the point.
But that wasn't the highlight. The highlight was the second room. You walk into this much larger room where it had different art pieces hanging on the walls. There were some knives that were glued to a canvas. And there were some mobiles made of trash.
Beautiful.
But the crown jewel was 5 people on this wooden stage, doing an interpretive dance. I will never forget. It was 3 women and 2 men. They were all in leotards that were totally black, and they were doing an interpretive dance that involved jumping in the air and falling on their faces, while also singing discordantly. So you just hear if you to set the scene a little bit, it's just total silence, and then you hear food way.
15-year-old mind. Your 15-year-old mind
strangest
was
experience.
your
So
15-year-old mind was not ready to experience the absurdity of existence that is the Dadaist movement.
I was ruined forever from
You
that.
peered into the void.
I sure did, and the void
And the void booped at
discordantly
you.
sung back. Yeah, it sure did.
It serenaded you, sweet nothings.
So odd.
Yeah, I'll say. Whew.
The music of that era, serialism and all that. Oh my gosh, I went to school for music. For folks who don't know, so I had to study music history and study the actual theory that goes into writing those pieces and why they were written, and it's interesting. It's the whole 12-tone technique, and pretty much just you're not allowed to use a note until you've used every other possible note. So you have to go through the cycle of the 12 different notes, and then you can repeat it, and then you can invert it, turn it upside down, backwards, but it's listening to that kind of music. It's very cerebral. It's very
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Big brain.
it's so big brain.
Big brain music.
There's actually a great video that I could put in the links about 12-tone, which is really, really good. like how to compose 12-tone music.
I mean, it's fun. I've played around with it, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. And I think the fun, ironically, for me at least, because I compose as well, and I don't use 12-tone often. I've used it only once in my memory. But the thing I find interesting about it is that how much tonality you can evoke from it, like trying to make it sound like popular music or music we're used to. Like, that's where the fun of it comes from, is like taking absolute nonsense or like very mathematical equations of music and then trying to get meaning out of that. But for the artists, they've got names like Arnold Schoenberg and Anton Webern and whatnot. Like, they were more looking into, they thought that was the future of music. Like, everyone will listen to 12-tone in the future, and like, this is what we're doing. So
let's see. I want to close this podcast with one more thing, unless anybody really wants to bring up something else.
Nah, I'm good.
Which I'm totally okay
No,
with.
it's okay.
Nah, we can wait for next
Speak
time.
your truth, child.
Okay.
I've talked enough.
I mean, so have I, but that's kind of the point. So, how many of you have at one point or another in your life used the antivirus software McAfee?
Oh, I know
Not of
exactly.
my
what
own
you're
accord.
I was always uninstalled when I got something new, but
I'm in the
I
same
go with it.
roles.
In middle school, I was
Yeah.
forced by my father to install it on my laptop.
Yeah. Not my first, second, third, or fourth choice, but
Yeah.
The guy is
Not
the
even
definition
my
of a
7th
mad
or 8th
lad.
choice.
Yeah, so Dave knows about this, but for those of you who in the call who don't, the man who is credited with creating that software, or at least owning the company that created that software, John McAfee, is one of the most insane people you have ever heard
I
of.
heard about him once in the recent news, which was like, when I say recent, like what, 4 years ago? 5?
Yeah, he ran for president under the Libertarian Party.
Oh.
I mean, who doesn't these days?
But he changed his mind halfway through and was like, "Nope, not a libertarian anymore. I am now of the Cyber Party."
Oh my god.
That's the least of which
This
sort
is
of things he did.
gonna be
he
great.
did.
What does that
So
mean?
he's like he was a lifelong drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for a railroad for a while, and just did the most drugs. As he was programming how the trains went to and fro.
Uh-huh.
And was like, you know what? I have a better idea. And he started like creating this company that would eventually leave after 4 years of being part of it, and was like, you know what? This stuff that we're known for, I hate it. And he's gone on record multiple times saying that he absolutely hates the McAfee antivirus software.
Oh my god.
He also, at one point in time, he escaped the U.S. to move to Belize, into the jungle.
Okay, hang on. You said he escaped?
He escaped because he thought he was being persecuted.
Okay. Go on.
He was a very, and continues to be a very neurotic man.
All geniuses are
But yeah.
persecuted in
That
their
happens
time.
when you do a lot of drugs working on railroads.
Oh yeah. He escaped to Belize. He married a prostitute who he's still married to.
Like you do.
At one point in time, he decided to move away from Belize. There's a lot going on in Belize that I can't seem to remember some of the things that he did.
Sure.
But at one point, he basically got kicked out of Belize because he was too violent to his neighbors. And they tried to like make him move to Guatemala instead. But he's like, nope, not doing that. I'm going to have my own yacht, and I'm going to live on that yacht, and it's going to be called the Freedom Boat.
Oh my
but
god.
the U.S. decided, hey, you're in our waters, so we're going to take your Freedom Boat.
Yeah.
Which is a little ironic.
He didn't do any studying on like how international waters work.
No.
How many miles out to sea does America own? Like 50 or something? Like, they own a
I don't
lot of
remember.
water. Like, you can't just sail out and be like, all right, this is mine now, because they still own it.
Yeah, exactly.
He sounds like this, the stereotype of what people think libertarians are. Like,
So,
whenever I hear someone say libertarian in a disparaging tone, like, that's who I think they're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty bad representation.
I'm going
Yeah.
to read / paraphrase some of the things on the Wikipedia page.
Ooh, story time.
Of some of the things that he's done after the destruction, or rather, him just leaving McAfee.
It's time to learn something.
Yeah. So he in June 2013 he uploaded the parody video "How to Uninstall McAfee Antivirus" onto his YouTube channel, and in the video he criticized his own antivirus software while snorting white powder and being stroked by and undressed by scantily clad women.
Hello?
All right, let's pause it there for a second, because we're talking about the absurdity of Dadaism. This man is creating a video on how to uninstall a program that his company developed because he doesn't like what his company developed now.
It sounds like
Like there are so many levels, and
he like injected 500 milligrams of Dada directly into his bloodstream.
yes,
It's a very
I think it's
millionaire
just,
thing.
like, intravenously, like it's consistently going in there.
At the DEF CON conference in Las Vegas, Nevada, great name by the way, in August 2014, he warned Americans not to use smartphones, suggesting apps were used to spy on clueless consumers who did not read privacy user agreements.
Well,
that's true.
all right, hang on.
In January 2016, he became the chief evangelist for security startup EveryKey.
Okay, you lost me again.
Interesting.
I was like, all right, hang on. He's got a point. Never mind.
So he wants to support every key, and I guess it's like a password memorization thing.
But no, his most recent achievement, and I'm really just scratching the surface. If you guys want to look more into this guy, absolutely do it. But his most recent thing, I guess, is creating cryptocurrency. He decided to make his own cryptocurrency. It's called Ghost. And it's physical currency, but it's also cryptocurrency.
I have so many questions, and I know we don't even have time. But what?
Oh yeah, it's a thing.
Wow.
I'm literally
one other
speechless.
thing.
I'm trying to parse it out in my brain, but my
I
brain's
can't.
like, no,
It's
those
just
are
kinda
two
sitting-
different categories.
So I'm aware of a podcast called Behind the Bastards, and I believe they do an actual episode on this guy. So I think I'll go ahead and I'll link that in the
Yes, definitely
in the show
do.
notes. If you guys want a better overview as to how much insane shit this guy has done.
Yeah. Okay. So last thing, and then we can turn it off for today. So this guy, much like many insane people, has taken to Twitter to post all of his ideas. I'm just gonna pick one here at random and read what it says. Here's one. It says, the U.S. has at least 15,000 laws. Federal agencies have at least 400,000 laws and regulations. Reading nonstop couldn't finish in a lifetime. Shouldn't laws be reduced to a number that we could read in a lifetime? Is that asking too much?
I mean, if we were in an elementary classroom, that would be a great idea.
There's some reasonableness to that, but at the same time, it's impossible.
Here's one from
too many laws, or laws are too long.
I'm not sure. Here's a tweet from 4 hours later.
Oh, no.
In primitive tribes, there are customs but no laws. No one enforces behavior. They have existed for 30,000 years in harmony with the natural world. In the U.S., we have 15,000 laws, and no culture on Earth has been less in harmony with the world.
Okay, well, that was
May I
because...
argue Rome?
Yeah, well, even before that, when people got together in social groups, they developed norms and mores, which basically were laws before laws existed, just laws within the tribe,
Exactly.
So
and
for him,
taboos as well.
Yeah. I studied this in sociology, dude. You don't listen, McAfee. If I can beat you with something I learned in sociology 101, come on, man. You got to put some more effort into it than that.
He's trying to market himself as some sort of like modern day rogue, trying to take down the man, but he's not quite sure how.
He wants to be the WikiLeaks founder so bad. He's just
Yeah, I think so.
So bad.
Yeah. That video that I mentioned, how to uninstall McAfee antivirus, 9 million views.
Yeah. Holy cow.
So yeah, if you guys want to go on a rabbit hole and a half, look up some of the things this guy has done.
I can only imagine, and even then I don't think I'll be able to imagine enough of what he's done.
All right. Well, this has been wonderful. You guys are great for coming with me on this podcasting train.
Thanks for having us.
So we're going to wrap up this episode of Let's Regroup. Join us again next week with another entertaining and colorful cast of characters in which we talk about, I guess, food and stuff. Food and politics.
Yeah.
Great combination. So anyway, I've been your host, Casey. This has been Dave and Noah and Rolls and Sam. You're welcome, Internet.